My name is Vera Jones, and I'm here to persuade you on why standardized testing should be banished from America's schools. Let's start by remembering when you were a child. Do you remember having your teacher drill you and memorize information solely for the purpose of taking the test? I sure do, and I also remember not remembering any of the material a week or two afterwards. This is going around everywhere, and students are being subject to doing nothing more but teaching to the test. Standardized testing purposes three major threats: health risks, lack of motivation, and discrimination and biases. According to Dr. Pathak, a heart surgeon at UMJ Medical, too much stress is put upon students for standardized testing. These high levels of stress can lead to severe problems later in life. The professor of psychology at Virginia Commonwealth University, Stephen Arbuck, has stated that if stress is not managed properly, then it will lead to serious problems that include illnesses such as heart disease, mental illnesses that include anxiety disorders. Standardized testing can start as so young as kindergarten. Do we want our 5- and 6-year-olds being exposed to such illnesses at such a young age? I don't think so. According to Brain Connection, a website that intertwines the thoughts of teachers, parents, administrators, and children, they say that from anecdotal notes from teachers, they have seen an increased demand for prescriptions such as Ritalin and Prozac, which suggests that students are being exposed to more stress in the classroom. Now, how does the brain react to stress in the classroom? Stress is defined as a body's general response to any intense physical, emotional, or mental demands put on it. For example, a student's reaction to a teacher announcing a final exam will increase that stress level in the child. In addition to this, it causes sleep deprivation, irregular eating habits, and low immune system function, which means that your child can have a higher risk for infectious diseases. The educational system is relying heavily on standardized testing to receive funding and upkeep their quotas for their schools. Unfortunately, this attribute is at the cost and health of our children. This is causing teachers to group students solely on success of the test, which students are recording. They know if they are being put in the dumb group or the smart group. And therefore, this leads me to my second point about how stress can decrease motivation. If students do badly on practice tests in the class and are categorized into a certain group, this causes low self-esteem and the relapse in wanting to learn. The standardized tests are teaching students to learn in low-level thought, meaning they are simply memorizing information instead of absorbing it and turning it to knowledge that will last them a lifetime. If you take the questions to an analytic perspective, those same students will most likely fail in the attempt. Students who are intellectual capable of learning and who will be able to solve high-level thinking questions. A recent motivation study conducted in a Florida middle school by Kelly and Decker found that reading motivation declined with grade level. Think about it. As students get older, there is more and more emphasis on state tests. Before I get into my second point about who the victims are about standardized testing, which is underprivileged children who come from a background that don't have the better funds to help them with testing, I'm going to show this graph that shows the difference in the test scores between African Americans and Caucasian children. The yellow, as you can see, is the Caucasian children across the United States in main cities that include Albuquerque, Oklahoma City, Washington, Arlington, Virginia, Pittsburgh, and New York states. As you can see, in every single city except for Pittsburgh, the Caucasian children are way above the rest of the groups of minorities. Now, how bad can it get? It could get worse. Now, standardized testing has proven to formulate bias depending on the situation and identity of the students. For decades, critics of the test argue that they are unfair because the questions are similar in the kind of knowledge that children can only get from a privileged background. The other students who are not exposed to this are left in the dust. According to a study by Alfie Kahn, the discriminatory effect is particularly pronounced with norm reference tests, where the imperative to spread out the scores often produces questions that tap knowledge gained outside of school. This is what James Forham argues provides a powerful advantage of students whose parents are from affluent and richer backgrounds. When you think about students who are part of certain backgrounds, if they have a child who is slipping through the cracks, what are they going to do? They're going to spend money, spend time to find mentors and resources to seek help for their child. If it's from a place where the family doesn't have the means to do so and they have a full-time job, they aren't able to use those same resources, and the student remains to slip through the cracks. Skill-based instruction, the type to which most children are subjected, tends to foster low-level uniformity and subvert academic potential, as Dorothy Strickland, an African-American professor at Rutgers University, has explained. In addition to this, the quality of instruction declines most for students who have the least. Why do you think there have been made grants and scholarships for prospective teachers and graduating teachers to pay for their schools who will teach in a low-level school? This is because they struggle with hiring and keeping quality teachers at these schools. So they put incentives so that when the teachers go in, they have a pre-notion that they're not going to stay there. They have a pre-notion that they're only going to stay there for the amount of time their loan can be paid off, and then they leave. Overall, it is fair to conclude that no matter how much someone tells you that standardizing testing is good, it's not. The cons overly drown the pros in this case. There is no argument to say that it is beneficial to anyone besides the school's banking accounts. In history, education is not supposed to be about money, but educating the next generation to think beyond the levels that we were able to think. They are supposed to be able to use real-life experiences and high-level thinking to figure out lessons that will allow them and follow them way after they graduate. As a society, we need to make an obligation to fight against this nightmare that goes on across the country so that we can bring true knowledge back into our youth. Thank you.